On page 12, we'll look at the perception of what was being said. Where do we find an example of the wrong perception in the Bible? In 1 Samuel 1, verses 12 to 14, we find Eli talking to a woman in the temple. Eli noticed her mouth moving as she was praying silently, and hearing no sound, thought she had been drinking. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. "Throw away your bottle." The woman's reply is found in verses 15 and 16. "Oh, no, sir," she replied. "I'm not drunk, but I am very sad, and I was pouring my heart out to the Lord. Please don't think that I am just some drunken bum." Eli's perception was wrong. When Eli received more information, it clarified her condition. Remember the illustration on the perception of the nut? Communication requires the correct perception of the words. You heard what I said. Did you understand what I meant? One needs to become an active listener if you are to understand what was said. As a listener, you must take the primary responsibility for the success of the two-way information exchange. How does one become an active listener? By asking open-ended questions that require more than a yes or a no. Restate what you thought they said in your own words. Ask questions with phrases like, "You meant that," "You feel that," "You think that?" Then wait for their response. Remember, communications is more than speaking. It requires listening. We need to do a self-perception check. The way you feel about yourself will come across in your communications. Our nonverbal body language is 55% of our communication, and our tone of voice is 38%. Your tone of voice will reveal your attitude. That leaves only 7% for the actual words. How do I perceive myself? Ask the question, what is my self-image? Do you feel accepted or rejected by what is being said? Has my self-image gone down? You need to actively self-monitor your actions. Have I put up any defenses? Ask the question, have I been doing all of the talking? Have I been listening to what was being said? Or have I been thinking about what I will say next? You have to self-monitor. Is there any perceptual defenses? That is, something you want to believe or don't want to believe. Ask the question, what filter am I using to hear what I want to hear? Has the filter caused me to see the world as I want it rather than the way it is? How do I perceive others? Do you see the old lady or do you see the young lady? For those having trouble seeing the young lady, what if I removed the old lady's eye? Can you see the young lady now? What if I remove the old lady's mouth? Still having trouble? Okay. Here is her chin, her nose, and her eyelashes. Are you able to see both images now? Your first perception will always be hard to break. The old lady's mouth is really a necklace, and her eye is really an ear when you see the young lady. Sometimes you may have gotten the wrong perception or impression. Two people won't always see the situation the same way, and this is what leads to a misunderstanding. Good communication and good relationships leaves room for the other person's perception. What is my perception of the person speaking? Did I classify what was being said as not important and therefore did not listen? I know what I think I heard, but could it be wrong? Does my perception of people need to change? Did I ask for more information to verify my perception? You need to ask all of these questions of yourself in order to be a good, active listener. The second communication principle is that of control your emotions. It requires you to self-monitor your emotions. Are you overreacting to what was said? Has anything happened previously that is spilling over, causing you to react? The most natural reaction when you perceive rejection is to want to fight back. Love of self immediately says, "How dare you reject my viewpoint?" The emotion of anger is not a bad thing. It's a protective warning. It is that flashing red light that says, "Stop! There may be danger ahead." The question is, are you willing to listen to a different viewpoint on the subject? What will your response be to a statement that you perceive to be wrong? At this point, communication principle number 3 becomes active. Respect the viewpoint of others. We see in Proverbs 17:14, "It is hard to stop a quarrel once it starts, so don't let it begin." Proverbs 18:12 says, "The intelligent man is always open to new ideas. In fact, he looks for them." Is this something new that I need to consider? Ask the question, what perception check is needed here? Do I need to change my point of view? What can I learn from this exchange of information? What defense filters have I used against this new information? Sometimes you don't want to believe. Or is this information challenging your value system? You need to remember the way you process information depends on a number of factors. Each person has a different set of resources available to them. Your family heritage is unique to your family. Each family sees things differently. Size of family will influence your viewpoint. Were you the only child, or did you interact with brothers and sisters? Did you grow up in a country environment or a big city like New York? Location is a resource factor. Another factor is age and experience. The viewpoint of an 18-year-old will be different than those who are 80. Along with experience, education will influence your information processing. One's occupation influences one's mindset as to how you will approach the issue. Then there is the awareness of spiritual values. Do you believe in God or the Big Bang Theory? All of these factors will influence your viewpoint. No two people will see things the same way. There have been studies made on vision that show that when two people view the same color swatch, their eyes and their brain do not record it in the same way. At this point, the fourth communication principle must be followed. Speak the truth. When their viewpoint is different, speak the truth about how it makes you feel. Example: when you tell me that, it makes me feel like you fill in the blank. Don't blame or point the finger at them. Tell them how it makes you feel. Speak the truth, and at the same time, respect the viewpoint of others. Real communication only happens when all four principles are applied. The late Johnny Hart, who drew the BC comic strip, captured lying in this cartoon. Do you notice anything unusual? Like raising the left arm and crossing the fingers on the right hand? In today's higher education system, there are a variety of theories of what is true. The professor of philosophy asked the question, how do you know something is true? What test can establish the proof that a claim is true? He went so far as to say that there is no absolute truth. I raised my hand and asked the question, Professor, is that absolutely true? He didn't think that was very funny, but the class did. I looked up the definition of liar, and it said, a liar is one who is mindful of the truth. If you were to believe that you cannot know the truth, then I submit that you cannot lie, because you don't know what is true. I then looked up the definition of honesty, and it said, honesty is the human quality of communicating in a truthful, direct, and complete manner. Following the professor's statement of, you can't know the truth, then I must conclude that you cannot be honest either, since truth is a requirement for honesty. What does God's Word say about truth and honesty? Stop lying to each other. Tell the truth, for we are parts of each other, and when we lie to each other, we are hurting ourselves. That's what it says in Ephesians. What perception check needs to be done to make sure the truth is being told? If you are a Christian, are you following the examples of Jesus? What perceptional defense filter might be in place? Are you trying to avoid your share of the responsibility by lying? Or are you afraid if you tell the truth, you won't make a good impression and will be rejected? Colossians 3:12 warns Christians, since you have been chosen by God, who has given you this new kind of life, and because of his deep love and concern for you, you should practice tender-hearted mercy and kindness to others. Don't worry about making a good impression on them, but be ready to suffer quietly and patiently. All four communication principles are required in leadership. On page 13, we'll start to look at the question, is a leader born, or can leadership be learned? To view the Notebook on Life series, visit us on the web at www.christianvisualarts.com.